2021 meeting of the Oxford Planning Board to order. First, I'll read the remote provision pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting bylaw, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order concerning imposition on strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. Meetings in the town of Oxford will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. We will strive to provide access to such meetings via a link to call in or other similar option. In the event we are unable to accommodate the same, despite best efforts, we will post recorded sessions of the meeting as soon as possible following the same. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings. And we'll do a member roll call. My name's Richard. I'm the chairman of the board. Norman?
I'm Norman.
Greg?
Me?
He's here. Okay.
Here.
Jeff?
Jeff is here.
Yeah. Christine?
Chris Bird is here.
Okay. And Dale?
Peter Mahota here.
Okay. And Roger?
Roger McCarthy.
Okay. Got a full board tonight. First on the agenda, plans not requiring subdivision approval. 141 and 143 Charlton Street, an A&R application. I'll turn that over to our subcommittee chairman, Jeffrey Stafford.
Thank you. The applicant is Sarah Jean Higgins. The mailing address is 143 Charlton Street, Oxford, Mass. The surveyor was New England Land Surveying, and can't read the end of that anyways, but the property owner is Gloria Connery.
Honorary.
Okay, the property information is assessors map number 32, parcel C19 and C20. Zoning district is R2. And the property address is 141 Charlton Street and 143 Charlton Street. Proposed number of lots or parcels is 3. Okay.
There's 3 lots. Where's the third lot?
That's
That's
Tony,
a free parcel.
Tony, is that you bringing that up on the screen?
Yes, I just put on the shared screen. It's a copy of what was provided.
So can you walk us through that? I know they're proposing 3 lots. I see the property line where they want to divide it, but I guess I still only see 2 lots there.
Yes, so let me zoom in here on the notes here. So parcel A to be conveyed to become portion of lot 1, parcel B to be conveyed to become portion of lot 2, and parcel C to be conveyed to become portion of lot 1. And we can see lot 1 here.
Yeah.
Lot 2, parcel A, parcel B.
I think there's 3 parcels. I think that's what they're noting as the parcels,
Which is fine.
which create 2 lots.
Right. Which is
Okay,
fine.
parcel A, B, and C
Okay.
get combined into those 2 lots.
Okay.
Lot 1 gets 2 of them, and lot 2 gets 1 of them.
And if I may, you'll see this notation, and hopefully you can see it. I'm trying to zoom in here. So with a little research, Mary has informed me this is a land hook. The famous Z that we saw at the last
Yeah.
A&R
Yeah,
plan,
yeah.
which shows right the stitch, the combining of the lots.
So I have a question. So this is Chris. On the application, I do not see the applicant's signature to the application. I didn't, Sarah Jean Higgins.
Yeah, this is David Higgins here. My wife's taking care of our son right now, and that's Sarah Jean Higgins. Mary, I believe she had stopped by the town
She
office.
did.
Okay.
Good.
So you have a copy? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
It's right there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Jeff, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't want to seem like the hardball guy, but the form that we have them fill out is like completely blank.
Yeah.
I don't see any setback lines on this plan or,
Oh, nothing is checked. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Nothing has been checked off, yeah. So Mary, does yours have everything checked off on that or?
It does not.
Yeah.
It does not, and I will let Tony speak to
Okay.
that of what is required for an A and R.
So when we're looking at the particulars here, yes, there's a discrepancy between, traditionally appears between our application form and our subdivision rules and regs. When looking at the A&R, as we know, we're looking, in essence, do the lots have adequate frontage on a public or private way? There are additional requirements, certainly on the form, beyond sort of the traditional requirements for an A&R. At the end of the day, the question is whether or not the properties do have frontage
They do.
on a public or private way. I will note though, and part of discussion later on, and I've taken note of this, that our subdivision rules and regs do need to be updated and our applications need to be modified so that way it's consistent and really simplified. Because in essence, the question is whether or not there's adequate frontage for an A&R plan, but correct that not all of the requirements of the actual form may have been met. But then at the end of the day, it seems as though we are asking more than what is actually required in a traditional A&R.
Does-
Tony,
tradition-
how many towns have you worked for as a planner?
This is my third one.
Okay, do most towns on planning boards that you've worked for just say, oh, it's got enough frontage, that's all we care about?
No, typically on the checklist, the minimum requirements would be the property name, the minimum information. I can do a run through if you'd like. But for example, somewhat unusual, asking for the septic system locations, the regularity factor, the 8% grade requirement, although helpful for additional information as, let's say, a project were to move forward, it's not necessarily a requirement of an A&R plan.
But we're looking for property lines though, and the back property lines and all, that should all be on an A&R plan still though.
Absolutely.
Jeff, let me,
Go ahead.
I don't know, several years ago, I went to one of those seminars they had at Holy Cross. And there was an attorney there talking about A&R plans. And he said the only thing required, you need to show frontage and area.
Area, right.
And when it comes to building a house or whatever, now all this other detail stuff gets filled in as part of the site plan. I mean, we could have an A&R lot and it doesn't meet the frontage requirements.
Correct.
Okay, so we can approve it as an A&R lot, but they might not be able to build on it. And I think we've always put that when we, as a condition, usually as a statement at the end, that it still may not be a buildable lot. So that's what I was told. That's what I always went on since I heard that information. But again, it deals with frontage and area, and all the other stuff will be important when it comes to get the site plan when you put up the house. So I've always voted along those lines.
And also current taxes and stuff, the current taxes have to be current before we look at that. And
Okay.
I guess if this form does anything, it informs the person who's getting this A&R that these things will be important down the road too.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're gonna create a buildable lot out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember exactly why the checklist was developed. I don't even know when. Somewhere along the line it was.
Yeah.
To help people make sure they had consistent and appropriate information on these plans. You know, it's like the upland and the everything else. It's just to establish buildability of that lot, per
Yeah.
se. Not that you can't divide it, but it had a mind towards these things are gonna be important down the road.
Right.
That's all.
So does the
It's not
plan-
really a checklist. It's not really a checklist. Those are, I think, supposed to be like bullet points, you know? What the town was looking for. I don't know if Joe developed this checklist or not. I don't know what, I've lost track in my 20+ years on this board when it came into existence.
Rich, this checklist is if you're gonna build a house. This, actually, I don't even know if we should have the word A and R on there.
Huh?
This is a site plan. These are all the qualifications you need if you were gonna build a home.
Well, on the top of it, it says approval not required plan, okay? And it's just specifying stuff to the surveyor, okay?
Yeah.
And what's gonna be important down the road. It's like your side, they've got a table of your setbacks, okay? It says nothing about upland or nothing else, or irregularity factor or anything else. It's just,
And at the end of the day, we don't know if these are buildable lots or if they can put
no,
a house on.
no,
them.
we always have that caveat.
Right.
We don't ever say that these things are
Right.
buildable.
Yeah.
Just because this one has a house on it, okay, but
But
I
it's
mean,
existing.
if it was just a blank land,
Right.
you know,
To
we
me,
don't
they-
know if there's any wetlands on that.
To
On
me,
the
they're
checklist,
just
they're
changing
asking,
property lines.
Rich, on the checklist, they're asking like for front, rear and side yard setbacks. Well, if this is an A&R plan, you don't even, a lot of these, we don't have a house on it. You only usually.
No,
got a-
you know, and they're not showing those on this, okay?
Right.
They got a table on there though that lists it.
Yeah.
And I think that's all. It's
From
just to
existing-
provide that table, basically.
Yeah, they
To
went
help
over an
the-
existing
to
plan.
help the surveyor give the town something that we're consistent with too, so.
Right.
it's just-
And in this case, they're just basically changing property lines.
Yeah, they're actually making the lot more uniform.
Right.
I mean, as far as regularity factor.
Yeah.
Okay.
See,
But
technically,
anyway,
this is different.
Chairman,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Rich.
okay, I vote that we approve this as a plan not requiring subdivision approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Rick.
I'll call for the vote. Rich,
Yes,
Norman,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes,
Greg,
Yes,
Dale,
Yes,
Roger,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Did I get everybody?
Yep.
did.
Motion carried.
Rich, can I make a
Good
request?
luck, David.
Maybe we need Tony to look at this list, because there was something the
I
last
think it's on,
time-
I think it's on his agenda of discussion tonight. He's gonna
Yeah,
talk about.
I
the-
saw
Ray
Yeah.
brought out something last time that we had a discussion about. I think we gotta just look into this thing. If it's an A&R plan, frontage and area, and that's it. But we need to look at that at some point.
Okay,
All right, Richard, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
all right. Next item on the agenda, action items. Motion to approve the minutes of January 11th, 2020.
I'll make
I'll
that
make
a
that a
motion.
motion.
Oh, good. Christine. Go ahead, Christine. I'll second
I'll
it.
make that a motion.
Okay, and Jeff seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, any discussion? There being none? I vote yes. Norman,
Yes,
Greg,
yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes,
Dale,
yes,
and Roger.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Okay,
I would like to point out that there's a typo, January 11th, 2020, should have been 2021.
only a year.
okay,
Where?
that's true. That isn't the first one on this agenda, Mary, but that's okay. I didn't even
I
catch that one
know.
myself.
Yeah.
It is a new year. It's 2021. Yes, our last meeting. Okay, another action item, 10, Old Webster Road, application for site plan review and approval. Rick Senical for IPG Photonics. And we did receive today a memo from Graves. And just like Craig brought up to Mary, I was gonna bring it up to her too, but when she addressed Craig, They combined both in this memorandum. So I'll just read what's pertinent to us, but it was dated January 25th, 2021 to the Oxford Conservation Commission. That's how it was addressed. That's why we were wondering if it was a combined thing. Anyway, subject 10 Webster Road, IPG Photonics for site plan, hydrology and stormwater management review. Okay. What's pertinent to us was under zoning bylaw, Graves has no issue relative to the compliance with the Town of Oxford zoning bylaw requirements, provided the following comment is adequately addressed. 2, on sheet C1, a label to the south side of the building possesses a 40 cubic yard dumpster pad, but the leader line associated with the label does not point to the concrete pad. The applicant should clarify how, where trash will be stored. A construction detail should be provided which shows the concrete pad as well as the screening which would capture windblown trash for the dumpster. So that's the only comment he had is regarding the zoning bylaw portion of this. There were other issues addressed to the Conservation Commission regarding catch basins and other issues. To the Rick, did Conservation Commission, when's your next meeting with them?
Next week, next Wednesday,
Is this Wednesday?
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday?
They meet the opposite week of you guys.
Okay,
So they were just waiting for Graves' report to come in. We were hoping we would have it before the meeting last week, but we didn't get it. So
okay,
with what's on there, there's very little issues that I think is gonna hinder them from closing the public meeting next week for the stormwater management.
okay. Well, what would you like us to just carry it on to our next meeting to verify what you get with the Conservation Commission and updated plan accordingly?
Can we close the meeting with the caveat that there's no considerations from stormwater? That there's no negative response from stormwater? From conservation, I mean.
Well, that's what Conservation is gonna do, right? They're addressing the stormwater portion. Isn't that true, Mary? Am I right? Get that
Yes.
correct?
Right, but do you need their approval to close the site plan approval?
No.
I think we gotta vote on a plan that's
They go hand in hand.
that's been modified based upon, I guess, what they want you to fix on sheet C1 for the zoning.
Yeah,
Okay, which
you wanted to
basically a
just-
typo,
Right.
but what's the Conservation Commission gonna do to your plan? If it,
Well, conservation won't look at the site plan won't respond to that C1 question because that's site plan.
that's correct.
So
that's correct.
conservation, like I said, the other comment.
But is there something they could make you change on the plan based upon stormwater?
Based upon stormwater, no, because it's a metals dock, so the chance of metal flying around is pretty unlikely. So it doesn't need screening because it's not paper trash or light trash that could be picked up by the wind or taken off. The dumps that gets picked up by the wind, then we got a bigger problem to worry about. But yeah, we'll make the correction about what on the C1 plan to identify the concrete pad and the detail for how it's going to get constructed.
Rich, could we approve the site plan with that as a condition that the C1 exception taken by Graves, which deals with the location of the concrete pad and a drawing of the construction of the and location of the dumpster or whatever they want to call it, be addressed? That would be a condition that we would put the site plan on.
Okay, how do I also got we also got through our packages an email from Kenneth Sellers regarding, he had one comment here, it said the proposed addition to the existing building will need to follow the current sprinkler code along with the NFPA 1 recommendations in regard to fire department access.
Yep.
Has he met with you, Rick?
Yeah, that's basically what the building is being designed to already, but he's quantifying that he wants it done to that. That's the state requirements for fire protection, and the state is the one who reviews the fire drawings for Oxford. So it's the state fire marshal that makes the decision on fire protection systems for Oxford.
Not part of the site plan, right?
It's not part of the site plan. No, that'll be part of the building design.
Right.
I'm talking about access around it. Is he happy with that? He didn't say that. I wish he had, but he didn't.
Yeah. As long as he wants access on all sides of the building, which the access road around the east side.
That's generally what he wants, but
And we've widened the road specifically for fire truck access.
okay. So that's already on the plan.
Yep, it's identified on the plan that the road is to be widened.
Okay, so I guess he's okay with it. I couldn't interpret from his email whether he thought there was an issue. He isn't here tonight. I would ask him directly.
Yeah, he's more talking about fire department access to the building for fighting the fire department, fire protection.
Yeah. As long as you're comfortable that the plan is going to be as is, we can do it with the exception to what Graves found and call it a day. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, that's fine. And then as soon as we get any comments from, if conservation makes any comments, we'll modify the drawings with all of the comments that go to it, and then we submit them for record.
Well, if it's
Okay.
okay with you, Rich, I make a motion that we approve this plan. Dated, what's the date of the plan?
November 18th, 2020.
What is it?
November 18th, 2020.
Last revised January 6th.
Sorry.
Revised plan submitted to us on January 6th, 2021, with the condition that they address the comment by Graves pertaining to page C1, where they show the location of the dumpster pad and give us some kind of drawing as to what the construction is going to be for the enclosure for the dumpster pad. And that if there are any changes to the plan because of changes they have to make due to the Conservation Commission, that they submit a modification. That's my note.
I'll second that.
Just if I can make a comment, the dock is a metals dock, so it's not a trash dock. So the issues about screening, the covenants require you to screen around trash dumpsters and things like that. This isn't a trash dumpster, it's metal scrap. So it doesn't have the same issues about requiring fencing around it as if I was doing, bags of trash or anything that could be blown away in the wind.
All right, so change my dumpster to a metal scrap.
Well, just eliminate the need for the fencing because we don't need the fencing with the metal dumpsters.
Right.
We only need the fencing with the trash.
So we don't need the fence.
Okay, thank you.
We also received an email from the Board of Health, and they didn't mention anything about screening around that pad. So I don't know how they knew it was for metal and not for anything else, but.
Well, they know what's going on in the shop.
That is a Board of Health issue with dumpsters. We've been there before. We've done that. We know they want them screened usually. Okay.
Anyway, that's my motion.
Okay, and it's been seconded by Roger. Any further discussion? There being none, all those voting in favor, I vote yes. Norman,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Jeff,
I vote yes.
Christine,
Yeah.
Roger,
Yes.
Dale.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, voted unanimously.
Hey,
Good
thank
luck
you all.
with your new building.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Take care.
Okay. Old business. Here's your other typo, Mary.
Yep, I know. Sorry.
It's 175 and 191 Southbridge Road, I believe.
Yes.
Site plan and stormwater management for commercial development, the status of the project. Are they here? Anyone here representing them?
Yeah, it's me, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me? It's Chad.
Oh, okay. You're DDD?
Yeah, I must be DDD. I'm not
You're
very tech savvy
DDD.
here.
Okay. All right. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jeff Stafford.
Thank you. Hi, Chad. So what's been going on there for the last 6 months or so? You hear me?
He's
Yeah. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yep. This is-
Just for the record, I'm Chad Boardman with Eastland Partners, and I think it's been more than 6 months, actually.
Yeah, it probably has.
When we got all the approvals through, the planning board with you guys, we had to do the earth removal, which of course we ended up getting. And the big thing that was left on that one was the Mass DOT temporary access permit, which has allowed us to access the site on that, the original location that we all vetted out. So what happened with that, why it took so long, is that, everybody knows MEPR, the big conservational section of the state, got involved. And what they did was they locked up the entire property, including, Auburn, the whole parcel that we had, and said we had to, we couldn't proceed with any work over there. So, obviously needing the Mass DOT access permit, we needed to vet out the plans more appropriately to the future. So as you guys kind of remember, which was a little confusing, we had to design the road originally where it was located, presently, and then also where the road was going to. And where it was going to, where you guys kind of saw, was it was going 80 feet towards our property with a 6 to 8 foot elevation change was what they were thinking of doing. So as you can imagine, we had to, vet both of those plans kind of out with the Mass DOT, as well as having a stop order on the entire project, AKA the padding plan and the earth removal until the Mass DOT requirements for the temporary access were satisfied. So as we were vetting, the only way to do that, to initially start the project, was something called a phase 1 waiver, which technically really isn't given out too often. And that took us another 5 months to do, to achieve. And we finally got that about a couple months ago, realistically. And what that does, it allows us to actually start the padding plan out there and to do the work, while the whole remaining parcel, AKA the future, residential portion of the project, can happen at a later date. So until recently, we haven't had anything to actually do anything out there. We kind of had our hands tied. But in the time frame of all this happening, vetting out the parcel going 80 feet towards our property, the Mass DOT changed their minds, and lo and behold, the road's going back to more or less where it was before. So we kind of threw out everything that we had to vet, and we're back to the same spot again for the most part. So it's been kind of a little frustrating on our end, and because all along we've been trying to work with the Mass DOT to allow, for the future, signalized location there for, when everything comes online. So finally, we had a bunch of engineers involved in a huge traffic study to try to meet potentially the warrant for, doing this for the future. And even the temporary access permit was somewhat tied up until we kind of vetted, kind of the future. Until recently, they finally got the green light to put in design conduits and take the right-of-way and turn-in lanes and design it, that portion of the road where it can be turned into a controlled stop and signalized location in the future when, things came online, the residential portion, the commercial came online. When it triggered that warrant, all the facilities out on the road would be in place. The conduits would be underground, and all the right-of-way, the turn-in radiuses, and all of that stuff has kind of been vetted out, which it is, which we have to say. Sorry, it's a kind of a run-on thing, but you kind of had to know what was kind of going on all these months. So so that was great, and I give Sean the kind of the play-by-play. Hey, we're still here, but we can't do anything. And so the end of the year, we got the green light for the phase 1 waiver, and we also achieved the Mass DOT temporary access permit. So we're pretty much excited with that. And then we've just recently learned that, and we met, of course, with Jared and Tony and Pete out at the site for kind of a construction kind of walk the site kind of thing. And that's kind of where we are today. We're looking forward to mobilizing in, cleaning Mass DOT's basins and getting all the existing and new area satisfied for erosion control and ponding and things like that. And we feel pretty excited about it. And what we're going to do is do exactly what we said, kind of go in there in small bite-sized pieces and attack it that way. We're limiting the scope of what we originally said. We're doing a smaller area, and Jared was on board with that. And we're in the process right now of getting some pre-blast surveys for charter communications and getting some well tests for people that are close by. So sorry about the run-on thing, but we just wanted to give you kind of where we are, and we look forward to actually, whether Tony's reporting with you guys or I come every month, or just give you a kind of snapshot of what's going on out there. So kind of looking forward to it, actually.
I mean, I guess that's what I would prefer, is like at least once a month, just getting to guys, let us know where we are, because originally, I was under the impression that the state was going to start the work on Route 20 in the fall of this year. And I know things have changed with COVID and stuff like that, but is there any estimation when or if? It sounds to me like the state's not going to change the road over there now.
Yeah, pretty much the road's staying in a similar spot of where it's located right now, is our last understanding.
So that kind of changes, doesn't that change the plan? Because originally there's going to be a separate lane over there.
I think it's still kind of a separate lane. It is separated, but they're using the same layout, and they're not doing excessive cuts into the road. So where it kind of is right now, it's pretty much where it's going to be. From what I understand, of course, this has changed 3 times from, speaking with you guys.
I mean, it's always been it's been a tight 2 lanes there already. I mean, I guess Tony probably can speak to that better. That Route 20 portion, people are traveling 50, 60 miles an hour there, and there was supposed to be a 3rd lane to turn in there.
Yeah, eventually that is correct when that full interchange comes online.
Yeah.
You're probably looking at 7 or 8 years maybe from now. But when it triggers the traffic warrant, that there is a separate lane to turn in, and we can actually show you some of that the recent stuff that the Mass DOT has in their design, or we can send it over to Jared, and of course we can kind of bring you up to speed of what Mass DOT's thinking as well. It seems to be a moving target, especially with COVID, but we've been reactive, and we try to plan, and we've done a pretty good job working with them so far. So
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead. No.
A couple of things. I think it's a major benefit that we're able to get that infrastructure for that traffic light.
Yes.
That was one of our concerns, and I know Chad worked hard on it, and Mass DOP, so that's important, and that'll be ready to go, and that'll make things a lot easier for everyone and safer once we go on board. But Chad, when do you think you'll start digging up there? Blasting?
We anticipate, I would imagine we could start blasting probably in about 3 weeks. I've got some clerical things to do, like I have to do the pre-blast surveys up at Charter, because I'm starting way in the back, and I'm going to do the baseline water testing that's in the permit. And I've submitted most of the financial things. I've got to do a video of Route 56. I'll do that with Jared. I think I'm going to do a drone thing, but I'll work with that with the DPW with that kind of stuff. As long as I feel great now that Tony's aboard as well, because he can help out Jared and Pete. And Pete's been standing up as well, so I look really good. poor Sean was on like overload a lot because, I'm not going to bore you guys, but we got several other things that are going on as well. We have a upcoming intermunicipal sewer agreement that needs to be done between Auburn and Oxford. And I've done a large sewer study in conjunction with, Sean that was previously here about the future of Oxford's flows, both our stuff and the residential, as well as Thayer Pond and future hookups on Route 20 for the commercial stuff. So that's in play. And also, trying to find out where the best solution is to send the sewer, and working with Jared and the town, of course, to either send it down Turner or to continue on what we previously thought to send it to the other pump station in Auburn along our frontage. So we're open to everything. We're looking into, some of the grants I think Pete and Jared are looking into that Jen has got in town. So we're really looking forward to turning this stuff around and bringing everybody together on this.
Well, I've got you here, and this is something we talked, and I've mentioned this to Tony already. We talked about when you originally met with us about doing cluster development way back when with the Tech Review Committee. You said you might have had some issues with the way our bylaw was, and that we were going to get together and make some changes that would give us a benefit and you as well. And that might be something you want to start talking about at some point with Tony, because that has to get approved by town meeting. And it sounds like we're quite a ways from doing that, but you need to keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. We did talk with, I have a new engineer, Steve O'Connell with Turning Point Engineering. We're going to be submitting some minor language actually to the existing zoning, which we think we can clear up. It does have to go to town meeting, but it's not an elaborate change. It's some minor wording, we believe, and to allow just the duplex configuration with the smaller building spacing to save on open space and things like that. So we're going to send that over probably tomorrow or the next day. I think Steve's running a little behind on that, but we'll send that over to Tony. We do appreciate that.
Say we would like to share with you, just as a side note.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're open to that.
Hey, I got one other question. There was like an 80-foot cut in the ledge. I think in one spot. Is the fact that they moved the road back, is that going to change that?
No, that was way in the back, Mr. Black. Yeah. And as we go, we're doing bite-sized pieces just so we can get in there, control everything. We see some deficiencies out on Mass DOT, out on Route 20. We have, the existing catch basins are out there. Of course, they're not maintained, so we're going to open up all of those and get everything functioning right. There hasn't been any issues right now, but we're going to double up, clean everything up, clean all those catch basins up, and add to our to the size of the basins and things like that. So we're really anticipating not having any issues, but we're working really close with Jared and Pete on that stuff.
Sounds good. It's good to hear from you again.
All right, Tony, I'd like to hear your thoughts on, my concern is that now that Route 20 is not being changed, and this pad was based on Route 20 being changed significantly. I mean, how is that going to affect going forward?
Sure. So as this project moves forward, and I discussed this with the team at Eastland, it's critically important that the plan of record that was approved, phase 1 commercial, laying out, I believe it's 6 or 7 pads now, with a certain roadway alignment configuration. Any changes to the approved plan of record will have to come before this board for the board's review and approval. I'm not talking about an as-built plan. I'm talking about changes prior to construction. And that was noted mentioned during the site visit we had last week, and certainly trust that the applicant and the team will work closely with staff and with this board as they foresee any changes to that plan. It is a very good layout, but certainly multiple factors, as was discussed, between either the Mass DOT, general site logistics and so on, that may require some opportunity for modification, but certainly, again, any change to plan of record requires approval from the board.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, this is Chad again. I think I want to double check everything because we kind of approved it in two different ways. I think the road going in, staying where it was kind of, and then moving 80 feet. I think we're covered, but I think we don't have a problem coming forth and bringing the most up-to-date design that we have given Mass DOT and kind of overlay it with you guys. I don't have an issue with that. So everybody's on the same page because, and hopefully it won't change again.
Yeah. Because again, we kind of based our approval on that things being done. We based that approval of those pads and stuff based on what Mass DOT was going to do to the road changes. And if not doing those road changes anymore, I mean, I definitely think it needs to be looked at.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll bring Jared up to speed as well as Tony, and then he can eloquently explain it a little bit more detail, feel comfort rather than just coming from me. So I have no problems. I'm totally on board with that.
Thank you. Any other board members want to chime in?
No.
So just reiterating again, Chad, if we can just, get a monthly update, even if nothing's changed, a monthly update, it's a long time to go, whether it's, 6 months, 8 months, it's a long time to go. And then, to come to find out that, I personally was expecting that road to be changed somewhat, and now that it's not, I mean, this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Jeff, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
And I'm just asking. Do you want Chad to come here monthly, or does he want it? Do we
Just
want
a report. If we get a report from Tony.
Tony every month.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
We got to have Tony earn his money. Right, Tony?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm happy to provide a report.
Yeah, and I have no
That'd
issues
be good.
coming. I have no issues coming once a month either, or on the phone, of course.
Thank you, Chad.
Okay, I look forward to talking with you guys again and coming next month. And I don't think we do any of those meetings, but if I run it through Tony and Jared, we can kind of email some of the things around so you guys have an idea what we're talking about as well.
Yeah.
I'll do that as well.
If you can let us know how you're making out with the sewerage and the water and stuff. Again, if you gave all that to Tony and he reported to us, that's fine.
Yeah, it's a lot. These poor guys have a lot on their plates because I hammered them with a lot of stuff. So I think they're going over the information right now, and I can meet with them anytime and give them the appropriate information because it is a lot. So no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rich, I'll turn the meeting back over to you.
Okay. I brought up last meeting,
Yeah.
608 Main Street regarding the lack thereof of a detention basin.
Yeah.
And Tony, you were going to take a look at that?
Yes. Thank you. So with respect to 608 Main Street, we actually reached out to DPW and followed up with Jared as well. DPW will be following up with the property owner with respect to restoring that. It was noted prior to back in, I believe, October, November.
Yep.
And I have a meeting this Wednesday. This is one of the items in addition to a few other items. So we'll be following up. There's definitely a question about what to do now. Enforcement, restoration of that.
To be honest with you, it looks like there's a gravel driveway there now. It looks like there's an actual driveway where that stormwater basin
A
was.
turnaround type thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's for a boat, Jeff.
That's been noted, photo documented. And so we'll be comparing notes with DPW and to see what enforcement remediation will be required. I believe new owners have moved in there maybe a year or two ago, both at 608A and 608B. So for whatever,
Well, I think as a town, we have to take a stand, Tony, because this
Absolutely.
is part of the stormwater management process. This is why this board goes through months of public hearings on stormwater management. Okay? And we did in good faith get a plan that represented the stormwater management that they had at the time. We had a neighbor that was very much afraid of water
Mhm.
getting into their property. Okay, and come to find out, they get rid of the one apparatus that was supposed to control all this water. To me, is a slap in our face, and I think we got to take this as far as we can go, because I don't know, as a board, I know we don't have any enforcement authority, but I tell you, Conservation Commission they'd have them in court. Okay, so I don't know what we can do to get this rectified.
certainly,
I'm sorry, June. I'm surprised that the neighbors haven't come back to us either, to complain. Because like you said, they were very vocal during that process.
They were, and I don't know why they haven't come back. I saw this going on during the summer. Okay, and we were in the middle of a drought, so who's worrying about water? Okay. I just don't know. But, Jeff said this since day one, and it's firmly implanted in my mind. It says, we're having people put indents in their front yards, for stormwater management. What's going to stop them from filling it in?
And there's a good
Here
example.
we go. This is the first one that's quite visible to us.
Yeah,
There could be
new owners come in, they say, well, I don't like that big hole in my front yard. I don't want that.
They don't
there.
want
What
a
do we need
pond
that
there.
for? I want to put a driveway there. And that's exactly, they're not going to look at their deed saying that that has to be on there. They just see a big hole there, and it's not, it's happened several times now. And that's so close to Route 12. That's just it's a
Well,
accident.
that one's in sheer sight of a lot of us, but I'm sure there's some others around town
Oh,
that
there's plenty.
they've been massaging their indents in their front yard, so now they're nice,
Right.
ball fields. So
Yep. Want a nice
Wasn't
level.
there a fence around it too? I remember seeing like a.
There might have been a little
wooden-
couple pieces. Yeah, there might have been something.
Yeah,
But again,
So they
new
took
owners
that
come in, they
down.
don't want to see that in their front yard. They want to, have a bigger driveway or whatever. And
they're probably not even aware of the plan,
nope.
quite frankly.
Right.
Once the developer builds something,
Probably not.
they're not even aware of it.
Yep.
But we got to have some way of getting this done. It's got to be done. And if we can't get this done, then I don't know as a board why we spend all this time with stormwater management and Conservation Commission too. But like I said, they got teeth to that on their side. We don't have any teeth. We're doing it, but again, no teeth. Okay, Tony, since we're in your spot anyway, planning director report.
absolutely. And I will be following up at the next meeting with respect to 608 and what further we can do. As noted, the enforcement is critically important, and I will be following up again with DPW to see how we can enforce this. So,
Okay.
because it's certainly an issue could be replicated elsewhere, and we want to get this right. So.
Yep.
With respect to updates as well, just a quick note. So since we last met, that following Thursday, Governor signed the economic development bill, and one particular item of interest noted last time was housing-related zone changes would require a simple majority as opposed to 2/3. And with the bill being signed, that specific provision originally, earlier versions of it, was that change from 2/3 to simple majority was to be done via local option. That's no longer the case. It's no local option of municipalities that's been removed. It's in full effect and enforcement now. Governor signed it without any 90-day provision or so on to take effect. So very interesting time as it relates to zoning and housing. So just wanted to make a note of that. There were other pieces, as we discussed last time in the bill. The whole bill itself is economic development bill, including funding for various entities and sources. But the housing choice bill that he originally filed, much of the language from that was incorporated in the economic development bill. But there's other requirements too, not impacting our community, but other communities, for example, that are within the MBTA service area, requirements that they provide zoning for multifamily housing and so on. So very interesting, and we'll see, there'll be more to come on that. But as we move forward and as other municipalities move forward, housing related zone changes simply require a simple majority. The other item too that I would like to share as well, our subdivision rules and regs met last week with Captain Sellers and our DPW director to go over various elements of our subdivision rules and regs, particularly as was discussed at our last meeting, to create some consistency, some standards as relates to driveways and measurements of what's appropriate for widths and so on. And also in twofold to this as well, looking at possible ordinance, not only a rule and regulation adopted by the planning board or revised by the planning board, I should say, but also a municipal ordinance bylaw, I should say, that would further give, if you will, more teeth to standards related to driveways and access to buildings and so on, or to properties. NFPA is the fire standards. There was a copy, current draft that was shared through Captain Sellers, and also Jared from DPW shared some standards as it relates to the design, construction, and grading requirements that we're currently working through a draft, hopefully a near final draft that I can share, also love to share with this board as well for comment and further consideration. A few particulars to touch on as well as we're looking at. So I mentioned we'll be proposing some revisions on driveways, grading, some additional information, requirements with respect to curbing. So for example, vertical granite curbing, perhaps at certain entrances, particularly at entrances of new subdivisions, but also driveway entrances and so on, as opposed to traditional, the Cape Cod curbing. Vertical granite has been a standard now in many projects throughout. And so making that a requirement will should increase the quality of design, the quality of construction of roadways, entrances, lots, and so on. Lighting requirements, adding some additional requirements as it relates to LED. So with Cobra lighting in new subdivisions, and perhaps even requiring ornamental lighting in certain areas. But being a green community, and we've done so much investment in LED enhancements, ensuring that all lighting in these new subdivisions are also LED. 2016, we adopted a complete street policy. That should also be reflected in our subdivision rules and regs. And by policy, it doesn't necessarily jump to every development must have bike racks and sharrows, bike lanes. Certainly, there are ways to accommodate that to enhance a project. But there's what I'm getting at, complete streets can mean various things. And we have the opportunity to require various elements under this policy of complete streets. And what are those? For example, in some communities, they've put requirements in for school bus shelters with projects that have, let's say, 10 or more buildings. And other communities have put standards as it relates, just like parking standards for vehicles, also for bike racks and so on. Complete streets, also connectivity, ensuring that even what sometimes we may take for granted, but that sidewalks do connect to other networks of sidewalks, to main roadways and so on. Another item, landscaping, ensuring that we have some requirements as it relates not only to species, but some protections, insurance as projects move forward, that landscaping is done within season, and should landscaping not be finalized during traditional landscaping season, that there is funding put aside. So, and what I mean by landscaping is your traditional tree pits, ensuring that the trees are a certain caliber and size, that they're native and so on. And whereas sometimes subdivisions may be finalized during winter months, those aspects may not be included. And so prior to any final approval, sign off, whatnot, we ensure that we have funding put aside for those elements. Another item we talked about was utility poles. So in our discussion, and certainly the board may have, I'm sure, have other examples, but thinking of new subdivisions and requiring that new subdivisions, that utilities be placed underground. And this not only would improve the aesthetics, but also even from other elements for snow removal, for DPW, to manage the right of way, the streetway, helps simplify and even again from an aesthetic perspective, enhances a project. So those were some of the those were really the elements we discussed at length, and we will be meeting again this week, being Wednesday, and I hope to have a working draft over to the board. I should also say, as we discussed earlier, under our subdivision rules and regs, as we know, preliminary definitive plans and also approval not required A&R plans. And as we discussed earlier, we'd like to make some revisions to the A&R requirements, and so that there's not a consistency between consistency between the form and, let's say, the checklist, but actually that the subdivision rules and regs as it relates to A&R plans are consistent with what is required, what is required, frankly. So with that, and we do have other models as well. None of this is new. We're looking at different models from other communities, not only for A&Rs, but also for all of these other elements that I shared as well. And hopefully we will be able to get sort of the best of the best before you for your review and consideration. I have with that, Mr. Chairman, that's all that I have for right now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we're gonna do A&R stuff, Mary, I think we haven't updated our fees in some time. I know other boards are starting to update their fees. I
Yeah,
think things change over time, you know, legal notices, whatnot. And I think you've mentioned it at times that changes may be due. We might as well incorporate those at the same time we do hold public hearings for subdivision rules and regs and all that other good stuff.
sure. We can take a look at.
It's been years, I think, since we did it last.
It could be, I don't know, 2012, maybe.
It's been a
Well,
while.
that's years.
Okay.
9 years.
We can take a look.
Decade
Time's
almost.
flying.
Applies.
Rich, can I bring something up?
Huh?
Can I bring something up?
Gotta go.
Yep.
It has to do with stormwater management. We've talked about this before. We make A&R people, a single home owner that's building a house for himself or a builder for, go through the same process we do, we make a major developer go through. And seeing that Tony is talking to Jared now, I would love to see on the A&R lots that they work it out with the DPW. So when we get all our information, it's already done. The DPW can do their thing. Because what happens is it's like a ping pong ball. We don't have all the information. We got to wait for Jared. Why can't they handle that like the Board of Health handles it? Okay? They take care of that before we go. We don't have to deal with it. We don't have, I don't even know why we need a public hearing. You know,
It's
I'd
all
like to-
based on our bylaws, chapter
Right.
66 and 67, Tony. If you feel that that should be modified, we should be approaching that because as a board, we spend a hell of a lot of time with those. And like
Only
what
A&R
Norman is
too.
saying is they're never clean the first time through.
It's
Some of this
bounced back
stuff
and forth.
goes, some of this stuff takes months because, you know, the public hearing takes place and then sometimes we go to third party review. You know, it depends on the
How busy the
severeness of the
DPW is.
grade of whatever. And then the fire department gets involved and they want turnarounds and everything from a long driveway in that. So,
And sometimes
I-
the plans are just wrong.
That's
I
right.
mean, a town engineer, I'd say it's probably been almost 20 years ago now, and the DPW created a phase 1 in stormwater management. In fact, I think it was a DPW issue all along. I think they were in charge of stormwater management, and they created this process. Okay.
Sure.
Whereas the planning board was to hold all public hearings unless it went through the Conservation Commission because they're dealing with wetlands. But other than that, the planning board would handle it.
Right, my wish is that this is all taken care of. They could decide whether they want to go to third party review or not. You brought up fees, Rich. Have a fee. Whatever they, let them deal with that. So when we get the final site plan, we get a note from Jared that the stormwater management has been reviewed and
Yep.
approved by the DPW.
Yep.
Now we can go on with our hearing and instead of dragging these things out for months sometimes.
Yep.
You know, we were approving these in like 2 meetings a lot of times. They'd come in, they'd make the presentation. If there was an issue, they'd go back. This is before we had stormwater management. They'd make the correction, and within a month, the people, again, only on A&R lots, would have their permit. We're dragging them out because we're waiting for this guy and that guy, and, well, we don't know if this is gonna go to third-party review. We might have time to do it. I think the DPW should handle all of that, because you know what? They're handling it anyway. Handling it anyway. None of us, we don't approve any of this stuff. So, again, that's my suggestion. If we can work it out, that would be great.
Yes, and for you, Mr. Chairman, if I may, so our Stormwater Ordinance 2 is an area that we are looking at. Jared and Judy from the Conservation Commission, we also met, and they also will be, we will be proposing some changes to it. Having, looked at other communities and practicing in other communities too, the provisions of stormwater management as it relates to special permits and site plan review, as it relates to planning boards, the authority, oversight, enforcement, the jurisdictions vary between communities. And we're looking at different models. And frankly, the consensus was, let's put it under the jurisdiction that has not only the expertise, most importantly, but will also, of course, be doing the enforcement, so which appropriately is DPW/engineering. In other communities, again, where I just came from, traditionally site plan review in prior years would also include what we would call pre-construction, stormwater mitigation, post-construction, very similar language. Frankly, there's probably a few standard bylaws that you'll notice throughout cities and towns relative to stormwater, almost a cut, copy, paste type of system. And, historically, planning boards, certainly as I understand in town, that the agent was the town engineer. So it may have made most sense to have it with planning board. But nowadays, it's more and more common to see it fall under jurisdiction, either Conservation Commission, DPW, whatnot. So it's very, very appropriate. We also looked at trying to come up with different ways to better manage stormwater on single-family properties, as opposed to making the requirements that exist today, easing those up a little bit, trying to be a little bit more creative to promote better stormwater management, but without the requirements of putting a full system in the front lawn. That does not bypass or forgive current practices we discussed earlier, but to make it more feasible, to make it more practical for single-family homes, perhaps taking a different look at that. We are taking a different look at that requirement, and maybe there's other ways that we can achieve mitigation of stormwater. I will say under site plan review, it's still certainly within the board's review, and I would not recommend removing, but getting some basic information as it relates to erosion control during construction, for example.
I'm not saying don't review it. I'm saying have it already approved for Jared before we get it.
Probably.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying get away. I'm not saying eliminate stormwater management and all that other stuff. But what I am saying, it should already be approved by Jared before we get it. That way,
Understood.
look at the plan, you're all set. You can make it part of the site plan. I have no problem with that.
Mhm.
But I don't want to be asking a million questions, and I don't want to be told, well, we haven't decided yet if we're going to send this to a third-party review or if we're going to do it in-house. They haven't had it, there was a timing a lot. Well, we just got the plan Monday. We got a week to look at it. That's all good stuff.
Right.
But I don't want to have, and Rich, I'm obviously going through you on this. I want that all done before we get it. It's part of the site plan. It's been okay. We say it's all right, and that's it. We approve it. It eliminates a lot of time on our part. That's just my request.
Yeah, we've just gone through I'd say the most difficult time since I've been on the board where we haven't had town planner / town engineer / no representative from DTBW. We in the mid-20s, by 2008, in that area, we had a dedicated engineer from DPW come to our meetings and discuss these things as we were doing them in our meetings, and we never had that either for the last few years. And that's what Norman's getting frustrated about, because a lot of these things happen, and we had to bite the bullet and go to third-party reviews because we had to pay for the help to go through the systems. So
I think you brought it up before. If we have to charge a fee to review it, then they have to charge a fee to review it. That's part of
yeah,
it.
I don't mind the DPW charging a fee. I mean, everything should be self-sustaining. I mean, if
Certainly.
I don't know if you want to get the town manager involved and see what that, because what Norman's saying is he wants a DPW to go through everything, review all nitty gritty as far as whatever, and make sure that DPW signs off on stormwater management because they're involved in stormwater management.
But
Sure.
they're doing it now anyway.
We as board members are not involved in stormwater management per se. We rely on the expertise of the professionals in town. So,
My point is they're doing it anyway, whether they sub it out and review it or whether they do it themselves. So their workload is not going to be any more than what it is now.
Like you said, we're getting these plans before anyone's reviewed them many times.
Yeah.
And they're expecting us to approve these plans based on things that haven't been reviewed by qualified.
well, you're hitting something near and dear to my heart because when I was interviewing Tony for this job here in Oxford, I said, I'd love a person that could look at these things and head some of them off at the pass before they even hit the planning board.
Right. We
You
just
know,
had, we had
That's
two
what,
A&R
that's what I'd like to see with the personnel that, supports us.
Yeah, we
You
just
know,
had two A&Rs that needed an explanation that I didn't have an answer for, and nobody else had an answer for, so.
So we wait for an answer from the DPW or the third-party review. This
Yeah.
would all be done, Jeff, before we got it.
I
'Cause
know.
like I say, they're doing it anyway.
Yeah,
All right, Tony. I think you're marching forward.
Thank you.
thank you,
Okay.
Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Anyone have anything else? By the way, I did my conflict of interest stuff.
How'd it go?
That
I'm
done.
working on it.
Huh?
I'm working on it.
You're working on it.
I'm working on it, Rich.
You can't fail.
Send
You
me a
just gotta
copy,
go
Norm.
through it.
Send me a
Don't
copy.
know me, Rich. You
98
don't-
slides, okay? You just gotta go through them.
There's a first time for everything.
Yeah.
No, you can't fail it.
All right.
All right.
I'll call you if I get stuck.
Come on. Go ahead, Christine.
So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
And I would like to second that motion.
Okay, Norman
Thank
seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Good night, guys. Thanks.
Everyone have a good night. Take care.